some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you. Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
This is my boomstick. Here's Johnny.
I have to return some videotapes.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Hello and welcome to a scientifically factual accurate episode of All Things Horror. I am your host Ben and I'm joined here with my co-host Matt. If you're new to the show, each week we choose a movie to break down and review. We give it our honest opinions and rate it from 1 to 10. We have a brief spoiler-free chat before we hit that spoiler warning and head into the plot and discuss our favourite and least favourite parts of the film. And if you stick around until the end, we'll finish off with some interesting trivia and a fun little horror game I like to quiz Matt on each week. This week...
With varying results.
Yeah. This week, we're discussing Matt's favourite. Well, one of Matt's favourite is Reanimator from 1985. And the description is... Dan and his girlfriend find themselves in trouble after his fellow medical student Herbert West invents a drug to bring the dead back to life. Written and directed by Stuart Gordon, and it's based on the story by H.P. Lovecraft, with a main cast of Jeffery Combs, Bruce Abbott and Barbara Crampton. And a runtime of, I think, it's about an hour and 26 minutes. And I think it's available on Prime, but if you want to watch it for free, it's available on Plex. And yeah,
On YouTube, I think, as well. I think the first time I ever saw it was on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube as well.
I think so, if it's still there, if they haven't took it down.
Ooh, I think Sleepaway Camp was one we watched on YouTube, wasn't it?
Yeah. All the ones I like are free. Because they're so old that people stop monitoring whether anyone's watching them.
Yeah. So this is one that you recommended to me a while ago. How many times you seen this, or how long ago was the first time you saw it?
I don't know. I've probably seen it 4 or 5 times. It's a really good. I don't know if it is. I was going to say it's a really good starter horror, but then as I was watching it last time, I thought maybe I'm just desensitized to the gore and the craziness, and because there is a lot of stuff in there that you might find a bit off-putting or a bit scary if you're new to horror. So maybe it isn't a starter horror, like I've always said to people. When people have said, want to watch a horror film, we're not really sure what to watch. I go, oh, you should watch Reanimator. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But, it's one that I instantly liked, and I like it every time I watch it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm not so much about the sequels. They're okay, but this is great, yeah.
This was brand new to me. I hadn't seen this one before. I wish I did, though, because this to me reminded me a lot of The Fly. I felt like it was on par with The Fly. Fly came out 1 year after this. Both kind of like mad scientists that completely wrapped up in their work and kind of disregard everything that goes on around them, and just goes into chaos kind of thing. So The Fly is literally one of my top favourite horrors, I think. So I'm glad I watched this, actually. I'm glad you suggested this, because I actually really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. That's might be the first time I've recommended one and you've liked.
Yeah. Not like, what was the others? Chopping Mall,
Halloween 3,
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp. Those are some of my favourites. I don't know if I even dare mention Terrorvision, but this is such, for me, it has everything. I ended up just, instead of writing notes, just writing lists of things I like about this film.
Saying that, Chopping Mall, that had Barbara Crampton in it as well, didn't it?
The beautiful, the lovely Barbara Crampton.
I was trying to think where I heard her name before, because I knew the name Barbara Crampton, and yeah, it was from Chopping Mall, which was the year after this, wasn't it? 1986.
Yeah. And this feels so timeless. I think like if it could come out tomorrow and it wouldn't look out of date, whereas like Chopping Mall is the most 80s thing ever.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of them. Like I think for this. It's got that classic music, obviously. It's a riff on the Psycho theme. It's like literally a couple of notes slightly different. Richard Band. It's actually Charles Band production, but it's not like your Full Moon or Empire Films. It's not like, say, Puppet Master and things like that. I think the thing that makes this really good, and the thing that they got lucky with, was the director, because Stuart Gordon had this group of actors that he knew. He was a theatre director, so he could use small spaces really well. And I think if you want to see what makes Stuart Gordon so great, and without being sort of mean to other directors, that you got all of these people together a year or so ago and made Suitable Flesh. But obviously Stuart Gordon's passed away now, and there's a different director. And the only thing lacking from that film, it had all of the same elements, the same actors. Barbara Crampton was in it. It's the same writer, Dennis Paoli, who's a great writer. It was a H.P. Lovecraft property. It had all of these things, but what it didn't have was the direction of Stuart Gordon. And I think that's what makes this a great film. It would be a good film without him because of all those elements, but it's a great film because of Stuart Gordon, which I tried explaining in my review of Suitable Flesh, but the director didn't like it. I think I mentioned to you before. The director actually commented and wasn't very happy with me, which I was. It's almost a compliment, really, which is to say that like the only thing I would change about this film is the direction, because nobody is as good as Stuart Gordon when it comes to directing this kind of film. But I guess if you're that person who I'm saying isn't as good as Stuart Gordon, then I guess it it might upset them slightly.
Yeah. Saying that, when you said that, it could be quite a modernised film, it could, very easily be done now. I actually wrote in my notes that it was kind of like a modern day take on Frankenstein. But then I was thinking, well, it's not technically modern because this was 1985, but it still actually felt modern, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the colours, the colour palette of it as well is quite timeless. That sort of neon on black, and the effects on the effects. I think the effects are, it's hard to describe the effects because they're funny, but they're also gory. So they're like silly and gory.
I loved it.
There's humour. I mean, it's Screaming Mad George. It's Brian Usner, like some of the greatest people in effects history. It's got Jeffrey Combs chewing the scenery. And I'd forgotten how good Bruce Abbott was, actually, because he could have been a right wet lettuce, but he's actually a good character. His chemistry with Barbara Crampton is very good. And Barbara Crampton is just beautiful and an amazing actress as well, like super intelligent person in real life, and brings that to her characters. And you get all this in, less than an hour and a half. It's like everything you want in a movie.
Yeah. Have you seen... From Beyond?
Yes.
I'm sure you know a lot more about this than I do, but that was also a H.P. Lovecraft story, and it also has Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton in it.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually 86 as well. But yeah, you have seen that, have you?
That's another Stuart Gordon, Crampton, Combs. I think even Brian Usner and I think pretty much the same crew. It's more like of its time, in the sense you can tell it's present day 80s. It's not kind of like you would say like a kind of Frankenstein classic thing like Re-Animator. It's very different to Reanimator, but it's still got some incredible effects. Jeffrey Combs is even more insane in that than he is in this. So it's a lot of fun. It's probably maybe a tad, I would put it just a tad below Reanimator in the sense of it. This for me, there's hardly anything wasted in it. It's like pretty much a perfect film. Like, Tarantino says there's like perfect films. They might not be like the best film ever made, but in terms of what they're trying to do, they have everything about them is perfect. So like say Raiders of the Lost Ark or I don't know, Jaws or something like that, where The Exorcist, they just do it perfectly. I feel Reanimator's in that list for me, but maybe From Beyond is just a little bit out of it. It's a great film, though. It's so much fun. It's maybe one we should watch in the future.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know we're not into spoilers just yet, but you mentioned there was some sequels for this, and it's a bit funny actually because I said this reminds me of a lot like Frankenstein. It's like a modern day take on Frankenstein, and the actual sequel to this is Bride of Reanimator.
Yes.
Is that? Do you reckon that was something in mind that he had? Do you reckon he set out to kind of do it that way? Did he have the Frankenstein in mind? Because it is very of that kind of type.
Well, I mean, it does match very much the Lovecraft, Herbert West Reanimator. Like, it's not other than the way it looks. Obviously, there's sketches but in terms of it's Stuart Gordon and company's interpretation of the Lovecraft story. But I guess that kind of mad professor has been around even before Frankenstein, even before. But I know what you mean. And I guess the thing is as well, they probably didn't have that in mind. It's just it was such a mega successful film. They have to make a sequel.
Yeah.
By the third sequel, we're making them to cut costs in Spain. They're a little bit... It's still good because it's Jeffrey Combs, but that's about it. The second one is a significant drop from the first one, from my opinion, anyway. But yeah, of course they're going to make sequels because it was such a mega successful film for the amount of money spent on it. And I guess it's kind of in that classic vein because it comes from such an old story, doesn't it? It comes from the kind of the Lovecraftian stuff. And the good thing about making Lovecraft, and the reason you see so many Lovecraft things, is because it's in the public domain, so you can put H.P. Lovecraft's name on pretty much anything, even if it's a million miles away from, for example, From Beyond is supposedly based on a Lovecraft story, but I think it's a million miles away from the source material. Yeah. The same goes for the sequels.
I mean, I had no idea that this was based on Lovecraft. I mean, I didn't really know anything about this movie anyway, but after I got it and I noticed it said from the classic tale of horror H.P. Lovecraft, I remembered I bought my wife his box set of books a few years back, so I had a quick flick through that to find it, and yeah, she's got it in there. I think it's got a little bit of a different name. I think it's like Herbert West's
Reanimator or something like that. Yeah.
But that's quite a short story, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. So you can put the name on it, and then you can go in your own direction with it. And it's the same goes with Edgar Allan Poe, and the Roger Corman Edgar Allan Poe movies gradually got further and further away, but we're still looking for even sentences and lines and pages that we can say, so it's based on Edgar Allan Poe or it's based on Lovecraft. So I think it's in that kind of mindset, and it's more of a Stuart Gordon work of art than it is a H.P. Lovecraft work of art, I think, this film.
Yeah. I forgot to research this, but I don't know if you happen to know this, but the liquid serum that Herbert West has in his syringe, do you know what that is? It looks like the fluid from glow sticks. It's really
I haven't got a clue. I think I did read, but I've totally forgotten what it is. Which is a shame because that would be interesting to know. I just can't remember, like most things. I just genuinely can't remember.
It really stands out.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most. I've got Herbert West Tuni Terrors, and the best thing about it is the glowy syringe that you get with it.
Oh, right,
You can really see that. He's got a glowy syringe, and then behind it as well, and then obviously you've got the disembodied head as well there. so I couldn't resist. And it doesn't look. The thing about Toony Terrors, I think they're such underrated figures because they actually do sometimes resemble the people they're supposed to be more than a lot of sort of ones that are not as toony. If that makes sense. Like it's a bit of a strange one. Because I think the Toony Terrors Herbert West looks just like him, and the same goes for the Elvira one that I have. So it's like sometimes you get these really high def scans and they don't look very much like them, but it gets I think that one gets the essence of him. It's cool. But yeah, the colour of it, I do not know. I don't know where they get that from. Maybe it is out of like highlighter pens or something.
Probably. It looks like what Homer Simpson works with.
Yeah, it does. It does. Homer Simpson Reanimator.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. I mean, I wrote down a list of horror films that came out in 1985 just because I thought that was a good year for horrors. I mean, you had this, obviously, and then Fright Night, Friday the 13th, 5, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Day of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead, Demons, House, Ghoulies. I think 1985 was a good year for horrors. It
was. I was 6. I'm not sure what year. Did Ghostbusters come out then as well? Was that a year before?
Oh, no idea. I
saw the only one out of those I saw in the cinema was Ghostbusters, and it scared me to death. Yeah. By the way, the serum is the stuff out of glow sticks. It's luminol.
Oh, it is. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
The same type of stuff used in glow sticks, and pretty much anything that's luminous.
Yeah.
Or Mountain Dew, somebody put.
That's probably the same stuff. Mountain Dew can bring you back to life.
Yeah. If you drink too much of it, then you end up like some of the characters in this.
All right. Yeah. Are you ready to jump into the plot?
Yeah.
Let's hit that spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
Right. So the movie starts off at a university in Switzerland where we see Herbert West bring his dead professor, Dr. Hans Gruber, back to life. We hear him screaming inside of his office, and when people break in, you see Gruber's eyes like popping out of his head, to which West then explains that the dosage was too large.
It was obviously an accident.
Shout out to Sleepaway Camp episode.
Everything was an accident in that one, but yeah.
West then arrives at another university to further his studies as a medical student. He rents a room from fellow medical student Dan Kane and converts his house's basement into his own personal lab. West has a reanimating serum which he brings Dan's dead cat back to life. It works, but the cat behaves viciously, so they kill it. But to demonstrate to Dan again, they bring it back to life again, to which I'm sure they then killed it again.
It gets pretty wild from, yeah.
Big question here. Did West kill the cat?
Yeah, probably. I'd assume so.
Probably.
Yeah, I'd assume so. Mainly because, like, later on he kills people quite easily and with no issues.
Yeah,
so I don't think it'll be a problem to kill a cat to him.
See, I was thinking about that throughout literally the whole film. I just kept going back to it. I was like, did he kill the cat?
I think curiosity killed the cat.
But yeah, like you say, he's got no problem in killing people, as it seems. And
yeah.
But there is like little moments here and there between him and Dan where they become kind of like bonding pals.
Yeah, this is it. It's like, it's almost like a kind of, I don't know, almost like a Leonard and Sheldon from what I've seen from that Big Bang Theory, kind of just two, because they have similar interests, kind of thrust together as friends, but don't really have a lot of, don't have a lot of choice when it comes to them who they have as their friends.
Yeah.
Not that I particularly like that program. In fact, I think it's shite. But, yeah, that would be how I compare them. They become almost like little partners in crime.
Yeah.
But Dan still stays a good guy, and West still is like madman.
Yeah.
But I like them both.
It's a lot to take in. I mean, just to remind people that this is my first time watching this, so I might need to watch it again to like fully understand it and like everything that kind of happens, because there is quite a lot. But I believe it's later on it explains that Gruber had something to do with this serum stuff as well, and him and Herbert West. Well, Herbert. There's a scene where he's like really defending him against the other professor. So I don't know, was they like working together at that scene in the beginning? Maybe they were like experimenting together.
Him and Gruber.
Yeah.
I think that Gruber is like, which is strange as well, isn't it? Hans Gruber, like from Die Hard. But it's weird that. Yeah, I think it's almost like he's been radicalized by Gruber's genius, and because this Gruber's almost touched the sun and almost done it, that like he's become obsessed with finishing his plans, and I think this is almost like an embodiment of like a god complex, like the idea that you can bring people, you can bring people back to life is like the ultimate god complex. You hear about doctors who get this kind of feeling of total control over human beings because they're so good at their job, and that can sometimes create sort of crazy behaviors. I think that the hubris of West comes from being taught and brought along and radicalized by Gruber. This is just my reading of it. And then I think the idea that he forgets that like part of being alive is like having a soul and compassion and all that. He can put all the physical parts together. He can get things moving again, but he can't actually make them into a human being because he's not God.
Yeah.
So they're just like meat puppets. They're going like zombie, and they're just making noises and behaving weirdly. And he's like, no, like, but he's convinced that is being alive.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and he plays it so well.
It's a very interesting film, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So Dan tries to tell the dean about West's serum, but he don't believe him. And the dean then thinks that Dan and West have gone mad, so he bans them from the school. However, they sneak into the morgue to test the serum on a human subject, and in an attempt to prove that it works, and salvage their medical careers. They do it on a corpse, and the corpse comes back to life, but when Dr. Halsey arrives at the scene, he's then killed by the reanimated corpse, and West then kills that corpse with a bone saw. West puts it down to the corpse being dead for too long, so they waste no time in using Dr. Halsey's freshly dead body and then ultimately bringing him back to life. Which I guess it works better. Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of action in that bit there. Some great kind of gore moments. Very heavy gore, in fact. Some might say it's a bit over the top gore moments, but not so much where it becomes too funny, because there is like funny moments in this film, but I don't think it kind of like goes too hard on it. If that makes sense.
I think the balance is really good, isn't it? Between it, like something being like entertaining and funny, but also like really cool practical effects, and quite gory as well, and quite innovative.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of stuff in it where I'd never seen until I saw this. It kind of makes me think a little bit like the ultimate progression of this is like getting towards like Terrifier 2. Like where what can we do with the human body?
Yeah. Was there a kind of like gore moment that stood out for you? I mean, I can't really stop thinking about that first eye popping one.
Oh yeah, that's good as well. For me, I think the decapitation, I think it's maybe the best decapitation. The way he does it, you see a lot of it, or at least you feel like you do. And then the use of said head once once he is decapitated is really funny, clever, scary, weird, and you've never seen it. It's like really memorable. You know, there's a lot of stuff in there that you might be like, what's that head doing? You know, that kind of stuff. When it goes towards sort of Frank Henenlotter territory. But I think it you know, it's still on the side of it's not what's the word? It's not exploiting anyone. It's all part of a really good, fun story. Like everyone's having a great time, and I believe everybody had a great time making this movie. And there's stuff in it that you'll never seen in another movie.
Yeah, I was. I know I just spoke about this a minute ago about Dan and West becoming kind of like pals, and they have those little moments. But I was really kind of struggling to understand where Dan was. You know, whether he was like on board with everything, and he thinks West's, you know, serum is just actually that great, or if he was just like purely motivated and getting his career back, or maybe a bit of both, or if he was just a bit curious, maybe. I don't know.
I think he's a bit weak, isn't he? Like, he's just trying to always do what he thinks is right in the moment, but hasn't put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, so his like love of his life's dad is having a lot of problems due to Herbert West, and obviously she's really upset about it. But like Dan seems to a lot of times just like, oh, just calm down, calm down. It's like, no, it's quite serious. Like, this stuff is quite traumatizing if that is your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan's like definitely not the leading man in this film, even though you'd think he would be. He's the sidekick to West, because West is driving everything through his sheer determination, isn't he, to get what he wants and to keep following the learnings, the teachings of Gruber.
Yeah, that's true. It's not very often you get a horror film where the whole entire movie literally follows kind of like the main antagonist closely all throughout. I don't know. Is he the main antagonist?
I think he is. I mean, we obviously don't like. Oh, my mind's gone blank. Not Dean. The other eminent professor.
Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because obviously he's a perv and kind of weird and controlling of the dean, who's actually quite nice, and fancies this girl, and that's why he doesn't want Dan there. You know, all this kind of stuff. Like, he's the main baddie. So when stuff happens to him, even when like he gets his head chopped off, we don't feel like, oh no, I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
So I guess he's I don't know. Is he an anti-hero?
I honestly don't know.
he's definitely fun. He's a fun character to follow, and we follow him throughout. And I'm sure certainly in the sequels, and you always want West to get away with it.
Oh dear. Right.
Oh, yes, I do. I don't know. Did you want West to get away with it, or did you want him to get caught?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. In a way, I was rooting for him, because it is. I don't know, actually. I don't know where I stand with it. I was Team Dan.
Team Dan. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Dan's good because you know, you do. He's not like a wet lettuce that nobody likes. You know, like usually pick characters like that, because it would just be totally overshadowed by the lead. by Herbert West's character because it's just such a big character.
Yeah.
But they have a good chemistry too. I think a lot of people talk about Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton being in lots of films together and having chemistry and stuff, but I actually think the three of them have a good chemistry.
Yeah. So yeah, the next bit is Dr. Halsey's colleague. That's what it's called. Dr. Carl Hill. A professor and researcher at the hospital. He takes charge of Dr. Halsey, whom he puts in a padded cell adjacent to his office. He carries out a surgical operation, discovering that he is, in fact, dead. Dr. Hill goes to West's basement lab and attempts to blackmail him into giving up his work and to take credit for it. When he's not looking though, West hits him with a shovel and then decapitates him with it. He then reanimates Dr. Hill's head and body separately. But while West is distracted by the head, Dr. Hill's body sneaks up behind him and knocks him unconscious, and the body carries the head back to Hill's office with all of West's work.
Yes.
This is like something from Scooby-Doo now.
Yeah, the head under the arm. Oh, so good.
Would you agree that once that head comes off, it then starts to get a little more comedic and more funny?
Yeah, and obviously there's the scene in the on the table in the lab. Barbara Crampton, let's just say she's a very good sport.
Yeah, we'll get to that bit in a bit. That's a bit of a rough scene there.
But I mean, I guess he's an evil, like, despicable dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and so's Herbert West. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But maybe they deserve each other. I don't know. There's only really even Dan though. Like Dan, the further he goes, he's complicit in the things that he does. I don't know so much about any other characters in it. That just, I would say, just Bruce Abbott and Combs and Dr. Hill. Those are the three people you could say are guilty of doing bad things.
I mean, not only is it quite funny to just see a body carrying around its head,
yes,
but there was a couple of moments like when the body is carrying. No, I think the body then when it gets back to, is it Hill? Dr. Hill? Yeah, Dr. Hill's office. He puts him on the table, and then the body's like searching for something or it's going somewhere, but it's like bumping into stuff, and then it pans to their head, and he's just rolling his eyes, just watching this body bumping into stuff.
So good. It's funny because David Gale, who's Dr. Hill, passed away quite young, and
really? All right.
His IMDb thing is of the head.
Is it?
It's not like some sort of tribute picture or whatever. It's just like he's like blood pouring out of his face and just like his head being held.
Oh wow!
So like I would say Megan Halsey's pretty innocent in the film, but yeah, nobody else is really. Well, Dean Halsey's really not done anything wrong either. He seems quite nice.
Yeah. The reanimated Dr. Hill then discovers he can control other reanimated corpses telepathically. I didn't pick up on this in the film, by the way. Apparently there's a deleted scene or an added scene where it explains that in a bit more detail, but yeah, apparently he can telepathically control, like mind control, other reanimated corpses. He then sends Dr. Halsey to snatch up Megan. When she arrives, Dr. Hill straps her unconscious body to the table. She wakes up whilst he's doing some questionable stuff. And then West and Dan arrives, where West distracts him while Dan frees Megan. Yeah, I think we have to talk about that scene. It's a rough watch. It's kind of a rapey scene. I mean, that was pretty close to the line even for the 80s. I mean,
Yeah.
you would no way get away with that today, but even back then, that was a bit close to the line. I mean, any kind of sexual assault is a bad watch, but when it's being done by a dead guy with no head, I was left feeling a bit weird about the whole scene.
Yeah, then it goes into the realms of the ridiculous. Like, a lot of people do think it takes the comedy out of the film, or certainly more modern audiences, or some people do see it that way. I feel like Barbara Crampton is one of the most sort of like she's studied acting at a high level. She's very well aware of her own agency and confidence and background, and probably was one of the most experienced actors on this set. So I just get the feeling that she, and from little things that I've read, that if she didn't feel comfortable with anything, it wouldn't have happened.
Okay.
But equally, I think, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it takes the comedy out of it, or? Because he does get he doesn't get to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
It's the idea that he might. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Yeah.
Did you have you heard about how that went down with his wife, David Gale?
Oh yeah.
I
think she just saw it in the cinema with the.
Yeah, well, I've got some trivia for that bit. I mean, Stuart Gordon has actually confirmed that when David Gale's wife first saw that scene, she stormed out and she was screaming at him, saying, "Oh, David, how could you?" And but to top it off, she actually divorced him shortly after the film's release.
Oh wow!
And in the DVD commentary, apparently, there's the cast suspect that it was that scene that was the cause of their divorce.
Oh wow!
So
yeah, because I mean, it's not like it's not tonally matching. It's not like it's not earned, in the sense of the guy behaves like a creep towards her for the whole film. He's sexually obsessed with her. So when he is obviously brought back, but only with elements of his personality, he's just like a big dumb animal, essentially, with a bit of what his essence is. Obviously, one of the things that's so strong in him is that obsession with her, that even when he's reanimated, he still wants to get with her. And it's so uncomfortable, but it's so outlandish. That is the tone of the rest of the film. It's not like it's just put in there to kind of be edgy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Right, so we are now at the final scene of the movie. So Dr. Hill reveals that he's now got an army of corpses from the morgue. However, Megan's voice reawakens something in her father, who fights off the other corpses, allowing them to escape. West injects Dr. Hill's body with a lethal overdose of the serum. Dr. Hill's body mutates rapidly and attacks West, who screams out to Dan to save his work before being pulled away by Dr. Hill's monstrous entrails. Dan grabs his bag and they flee, but Megan is attacked and killed, and in despair he injects her with West's serum. And then after the scene fades to black, Megan can be heard screaming.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I would like to see where that goes. You say you've seen the second one, The Bride of Reanimator.
Yeah.
Does that follow straight on?
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay. And maybe I need to give it another go. I do remember the third one being in my mind anyway, like trash, absolute trash. But yeah, I don't think the second one's too bad. I think maybe I had it on my. I seem to remember thinking it's like a kind of 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Yeah.
I think I'd just like to see where that scene goes.
Yeah, it's worth seeing them all because you get to see Jeffrey Combs being Herbert West in all of them.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what he's doing, he's really interesting because he plays it so differently, than anything else. See, I mean, he's an incredible actor. He's done so much. This is just the right side of absolutely bonkers without being cheesy.
Yeah. It's not silly. It's not silly.
No.
It's just fun.
Yeah. Does it really? It's almost like theatre acting, really, to a certain degree.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, let's jump into our ratings. I'll let you go first. So 1 to 10, cats in the fridge.
Okay, I'll go see heads. Cats in the fridge. Would I have liked this film as much if it was a dog instead of a cat and a thing?
Oh, that was going to be my other question. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know because it's so silly. I don't know, but then having said that, I got really upset with the sort of gooey dog in The Fly 2.
Yeah.
Didn't like that at all. And this one, it's so cartoony. I don't think it would have bothered me. Somebody needs to do an animated Reanimator.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
I think for this, it's a combination of people who have gone on to do incredible things. It's like a perfect movie in terms of cast. Combs, Crampton, Bruce Abbott, David Gale, special effects, Usner, Screaming Mad George, director, the amazing Stuart Gordon, the colours, the sort of the theatrical style and direction, the script by Dennis Paoli, the Lovecraft use of Lovecraft, but sort of adding to it in their own way. It's one of my favourite horror films, if not one of my favourite films of all time. The time is perfect. It's under 1 hour and 30. It has some stuff that you can discuss, like we were saying before about, when I was saying about how does he forget what makes a human being? Like, is it just the actual animation of them moving, but like the sort of the soul and all that kind of stuff? It makes you think about that. Incredible depictions of violence and in a really interesting way. Everything from the opening credits and the music onwards, I love it. So for me, it's 1 out of 10. No, it's it's 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I actually put in my notes for my rating to wrap up that I weren't sure if I was going to like this, especially when I was texting you a while ago and you said it was going to be a 10 out of 10 because we don't necessarily agree when it comes to top tier, our personal top tier horrors. But
I'm the middle with about the same,
yeah.
But like low and high, we're completely different.
Yeah. Honest opinion, if I could describe this film in 2 words, it would be outrageously entertaining. I think it did an absolutely great job of creating tension as well as character development during the first half of the movie, and the second half seemed to kind of dial back a little bit on the seriousness and get more into the fun of it, and it definitely was fun. Full well I absolutely love my practical effects, especially 80s practical effects. So I fully understand why people love this movie, and I've seen people dressed up as Herbert West at horror conventions. So I wouldn't say I loved this movie, but I'm definitely glad I saw it, and I'll be more than happily, watch it again as well as the sequels. I want to see where it goes. So with that, I'm actually going to give this a solid 8 out of 10.
Ooh, that's good. That's good for a first-time watch as well. I wonder what you'll think about From Beyond.
Yeah, that'll be another one that I'd want to see. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's now jump into our trivia section.
Trivia. Oh, yeah.
Right, there was actually quite a lot of trivia that I found online, but I've narrowed it down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the makeup effects artist John Norlin said that Reanimator was the bloodiest film he had ever worked on. The special effects department went through 24 gallons of fake blood during filming, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Stuart Gordon originally wanted to shoot the movie in black and white on a 16mm film to give the film a more gritty quality. I'm not sure how that would have come out in black and white.
Yeah.
I think it's good in colour.
It would have lost something, particularly the neon.
Yeah, the serum, yeah. The Dr. Carl Hill role was originally written for Christopher Lee, but Lee turned down the role, so then it went to David Gale instead. Again, I don't know how that
would have been good.
Yeah.
But to be fair, you wouldn't change anything.
No.
I don't think so. I've got one piece of trivia for this.
Oh yeah.
And it might not be one. It might be something you already know, but that most of the people, including the writer Dennis Paoli, but particularly Jeffrey Combs, believe that Herbert West is asexual.
Oh.
So if you think about his relationship with Dan and with women, and he's got zero interest in either of them in that way. I don't know if that's just down to the fact that he's completely driven to do his work and doesn't have any interest in it. But I just thought that was interesting, considering...
That is interesting, yeah.
I don't know whether that makes people think about it differently, or whether they've added that in afterwards, or there was a discussion at the time. Because he's quite easily got like ASD traits in a lot of ways, because he's very highly intelligent. He's got some. You can't generalize too much, but he's got some traits that I would think, oh, yeah, he's struggling socially there, and he doesn't care about some of the stuff that he says, even to like people who are his superiors.
Well, I guess that would actually really separate him from Seth Brundle, because he was a stud. yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not like Seth at all, because Seth isn't like your usual. You're right, because he's not like your usual geeky scientist, is he? He's actually like quite. Well, maybe just because he's Jeff Goldblum, he's just got that kind of confidence with the ladies. And plus, he was literally going out with the woman who was playing his love interest as well. Oh, yeah. This is quite funny. The first man who's reanimated at the morgue is a man called Peter Kent, and he's best known for being Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double on many of his films.
Oh, weird. How weird. I've literally just got his IMDb page up on my phone at the moment as you're saying that. As you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I thought that when I was watching, I was like, man, that guy is jacked.
Yeah.
What a guy to reanimate.
Total Recall, Predator, Reanimator.
Yeah. Out of all the people to bring back from the dead, you're going to pick that guy.
Yeah. Somebody you can't overpower.
Yeah. And last one, for the dummy head of Dr. Carl Hill, they couldn't find a wig that matched David Gale's actual hair. So the cheapest and easiest thing to do was to just get him to shave his head, and they can both wear matching wigs.
Well,
that's commitment.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, right, that's all I've got for some trivia. So let's now jump into this week's game.
I want to play a game.
Alright, this is a brand new game that I've made. This is called Badly Described Horror Movies.
Oh no.
I'm gonna really badly describe a movie, and you got to try and guess what I'm talking about. Alright, so number 1 is a shy, silent guy who likes spending time at home.
Psycho.
Ooh.
What?
Shy, silent guy is Halloween.
Oh.
He's at home.
He gets out more than Norman Bates.
Yeah. Oh god. Bear in mind, I made all of these, and I'm pretty proud of this one. After listening to a really bad audiobook, a group of friends catch a nasty cold. Think about
it. Cabin fever?
Ooh. Very close.
Cabin fever 2?
Older. It was The Evil Dead.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay, alright, you got to get this one. A cross-dressing peeping Tom runs a lovely business with his dear mother.
Psycho! I almost started doing Firestarter then.
A hairy man likes to hang out with his dead friend and watch adult movies.
A hairy man likes to... Harry and... No, it's not Harry and the Hendersons. It's not Bigfoot and the Hendersons. What? A hairy man?
Think about it.
Hairy... Is it one we've watched on the...
Yep.
Oh.
Hairy man and his dead friend.
Is hairy man and his dead... Weekend at Bernie's? I don't know.
It was An American Werewolf in London.
Oh, okay.
A mama's...
his dead friend. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. A mama's boy that can't swim and no one cares.
Friday the 13th. But Mrs. Kentner cares in Jaws.
One person. A handsome-looking chap who loves providing his family with delicious meals.
Motel Hell? Hotel? No. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
All right. Kids that watch too much TV rot their brains.
Halloween 3.
You might remember this one I've taken this from a review that we spoke about before. A demon gothic metal band that really wants to show you stuff.
A demon gothic metal band who really want to show you stuff. I haven't got a clue. Kiss?
I read a funny review about it before.
Oh, man.
Bad reviews for good movies.
Oh, man, I can't remember.
All right. It was Hellraiser.
Oh, right, okay.
Demon gothic metal band.
Nice.
Yeah.
We have such riffs to play you.
What did you get? You got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 8. Half.
I've done worse.
Yep, you have.
I've done better as well.
All right, let's wrap up this episode. So, next episode will be the winner of this month's poll pick, and the poll picks for this month were sequels. It was between A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Scream 2, and Child's Play 2. And which one came out on top is Child's Play 2.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that.
I can't remember if I think I've seen it.
Have you?
I think so. I've seen some of the later ones, but I don't know. It'll be like watching it for the first time.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah, we'll do that one next week.
Nice.
So yeah, if unless you got anything else to add, I will see us out.
No, hopefully people go out and watch Reanimator now after seeing this.
Yeah, they should. I liked it.
Yeah, we're getting. I'm getting an idea now of. So the thing is, though, some of the ones that I know that I've said that I love, I know for a fact you're going to hate them.
There are still some that you suggested way back when we started. They're still on the list, and we are getting through them. But another one that I wanted to see that you recommended, well, there's a couple, but is Basket Case.
Oh yeah, Basket Case.
I've not seen that, and I want to see that one.
And they're talking special effect wise, similar, but also talking Brian Yuzna, who does a lot of special effects and practical effects in this. The film Society would be an interesting one as well. That is definitely a love or hate film for most people.
Okay. Brilliant. And then likewise, I've still got a load of films that I want you to watch.
Yes. Yeah, this is it. These basically, if you're choosing anything after like 2001, I've probably not seen it.
Cool. All right. So I'll go ahead and see us out. So if you've liked today's episode and want to hear more, then go ahead and give us a follow on wherever you're listening from. You can find us on Facebook, because that's where we stick up the poll picks, and you can vote for what we do. So that's all for today. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Child's Play 2.